Welcome to Pollen Weather by Pollen Wise App. It's Thursday, July 30th. I'm Landon Bunderson, and this is the place for daily allergy news and forecasts. Today we're going to take a look back at the spring tree season. We'll show you which cities had the worst days this spring. But first, we'll do the forecast. Thanks to an abundance of storms across North America today, many of you will have another day of moderate pollen levels. Northern Utah and the Southern California coast are the places to watch for very high pollen levels today. Missouri is going to be worrying more about severe weather and less about pollen and mold. Speaking of mold, very high mold levels are expected today in parts of Iowa, Indiana, Utah, and California. Low levels in the southeast and central Texas. I do expect mold levels to rise on the east coast as soon as things dry out a bit. Look for rising levels towards the end of next week. Overall, air quality looks good thanks to the summer rain most of us have been getting. Unfortunately for Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Southern California, no rain, no relief from poor air quality. Not even sure when rain is coming for you. Temperatures are seasonal around the country, no real surprises here. Do you ever wonder how your city compares to other cities when it comes to pollen levels? There are lots of ways to compare places. You can look at pollen season length, you can look at number of very high pollen days in a row, or you can look at which city has the absolute worst day in a season. The worst day in a season is calculated by adding up the total amount of pollen collected in each 24-hour period. Today we'll be giving the award for the worst day in the spring 2020 tree season. But before we do number one, we'll go through the 9 runners-up. There are lots of reasons to visit Atlanta in the spring. For example, you might want to check out Piedmont Park in Midtown and enjoy beautiful flowering dogwoods. But if you were there on March 14th this spring, you got more than you bargained for because that was the 10th worst pollen day of the year. There are also some great parks in Waterloo, Iowa. But on April 8th this year, the best place to be in Waterloo was indoors because that was the 9th worst pollen day of the year. Many people from around the world like to visit California on vacation. When you're there on vacation, you might think that the state doesn't have any bad days. But March 13th was a bad day in Sacramento this year. In fact, it ranks 8th worst for tree pollen. When you think of the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico, you probably picture gravel front yards and cacti, not trees. But Albuquerque has plenty of mulberry trees, and thanks to those trees, March 26th in Albuquerque ranks number 7 on our list. Provo, Utah is known almost exclusively for Brigham Young University, a large private school with a history of churning out quarterbacks. The campus visit on May 6th might have left you with a bad taste in your mouth, thanks to the 6th worst day of the year for tree pollen levels. Fort Worth, Texas often plays second fiddle to Dallas, but on March 28th, Fort Worth produced more pollen than Dallas did. In fact, it ranked 5th on our list. Just down the I-35 from Fort Worth is the weirdest big city in Texas. Austin is known for great food, great music, and for South by Southwest, a conference and collection of festivals that is truly unique. Among allergy sufferers, Austin also has the distinction of being a city with almost year-round pollen. And now, thanks to the pollen count on March 26th this year, Austin earned a number 4 spot on our worst pollen day list. Another truly unique city in the southern U.S. is Las Vegas, Nevada. The Las Vegas Strip is the place for gambling, shopping, fine dining, and entertainment. But on March 16th, Sin City was also the 3rd worst place for spring pollen. Almost polar opposite to balmy Las Vegas is the sleepy little mountain college town of Logan, Utah. It ranked number 2 on our list thanks to an abundance of oak and other tree pollen types. When most people think about our worst city, they probably have it on their short list for places with a great combination of historical sites, downtown nightlife, and world-class basketball. But if you were in San Antonio, Texas on March 26th, you might just put it on your places to avoid list because San Antonio had the worst spring pollen day of the year. The worst pollen day of the year started out quite mild. No pollen was in the air until 9 a.m. But at 9 a.m., pollen levels shot up, exceeding 10,000 pollen grains per cubic meter for 10 consecutive hours. Many cities never achieved 10,000 pollen grains per cubic meter for a single hour, let alone 10 in one day. This was just a quick look back at the 2020 tree season. Did your city make the list? Do you feel like you were overlooked for some airborne allergen accomplishment? Let us know about it in the comments. If you want to avoid the worst days this summer and fall, download the Pollen Wise app for hourly counts and alerts. Also, like this video and subscribe to this channel for more great pollen information.